Hi everyone, it's Kay from the Paper Shed. Hope you're all doing well. Thanks so much for coming back and joining me for another Ink Stained Archives collaboration with SunflowersAndDors and LineDotArrow. I'm so happy with these kits. I'm just so enjoying having a real good play at the moment. I'm on week 2, which is notebooks and or bookmarks. I'm probably going to do 2 different videos for those because this one's going to be I wouldn't say lengthy because I've done a little bit of prep, but there is quite a process to it. I will leave some instructions down at the bottom of the description in the description box for you, for anybody that doesn't get it or doesn't understand my instructions or whatever. Now I've altered the sizes to fit what I want it to do, and once you get to grips with how this works, you'll be able to do the same. So I'm not really too fussed about the measurements. Now, I know that there's a lot of people out there that like to have measurements and they like to work with measurements. So I will say the measurements that I'm using, but you alter it to the way you want to do it or to what you're making, because it doesn't have to be a notebook. This could easily be a lovely journal. And I've found some of this actually that I didn't know I'd got. Now this is, I get this because it's quite cheap here, because I can't get hold of decent cardstock really. So these were, I don't know whether I come from an office background, so I sort of know I knew what they were, but they're binder covers. Now the weight of these tells me that they're 180, but I'm not 100% sure about that. But they're sort of mottled. I don't know whether if I zoom in you can see. Can you see the sort of marble embossed effect? One side's flat, one side is raised. And I love this paper. It prints really well. I get it in loads of different colours. And I didn't realise that I'd got this sort of gold colour. And I do like the colour. It goes really well with this kit actually. So I'm going to be using that to cover my covers today. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to cover 2 pieces of what would be our front and back cover of our notebook. I will give you the sizes of those in a sec. I don't know where I've put it. Hang on. There we go. So I'm just making this 4 1/4 by 6, and that's only because what I'm using for my paper is I'm just using normal copier paper. That might be a mistake because it's quite thin and flimsy and obviously easy to rip. And we do need to make slits in these pages. So, but I'm going to go with it and see how we get on. I've left a few there just so that you can see. All I've done here is I've just cut an A4 sheet of copier paper in half. That's all I've done. And then we're going to fold those to make our pages, but we're going to do it one at a time because of the way we want the pages to sit. So first off, we're just going to make the cover, which is just covering, I've just got a piece. This is off a paper pad pack. So this was the backing of a paper pad pack. You can use cereal box, you can use cardboard, you can use whatever you want to make your initial cover out of. And that's just going to sit inside there. Now, I'm just leaving, a sort of, I don't even know what size that is. I've sort of left an 1/2 inch border all the way around. So I haven't measured it, but I will for you guys. So it is, it's between 5 1/4. It's halfway between 5 1/4 and 5 1/2, whatever that is. It doesn't mark it on there. And obviously the height is 7 because it needs to be slightly bigger than that. So 1/2 inch there, 1/2 inch there. That makes that 7. So that's all I've done. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to glue that down. Oh, I haven't used this glue in a while. But we're going to use it today if it comes out, and it does. This will give me a bit of wiggle room to make sure that I get it in the centre. I just want plenty on there so that I don't get no ridges. You can smush it out if you want, but I just find it easier to do it on my paper. I'm just going to line that up as best I can in the middle. I'm going to swish it around a bit and then move it back into place. Okay, let's give that a good old burnish down. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to go, I'm just going to move that out of the way because it's distracting. So don't forget, you need 2 of these. Just move that in so that it's in more or less in the middle of your sheet. And then I'm just going to run my bone folder down just to score those fold lines in. Just down there and just down there. Then I'm going to go underneath and I'm just going to ease that up. I find it easier to do it this way to save you cracking your paper or creasing your paper. Just to ease it up. Okay, so once you've got that, I'm going to then fold it over and burnish those lines in, pressing the edge so it's nice and flat around it. And I make my journal covers very much in the same way if I'm doing it in paper or card, I should say. Okay, then I'm just going to snip these ends. Now I like to leave sort of a about 1/8 of an inch from the top of that point, and then I'm just going to cut all 4 corners off at a slant. Now you can go straight across if you want to. I just like to make sure that I'm going to get coverage on my corners. Get rid of my rubbish. And then we're going to glue this down. Now I'm going to use my art bliss for this because I want to do it quickly. Now I always, when I'm using card, I always put a bead of glue right on that edge. And then fold that over. My bone folder, make sure that's all in and there's no bubbles in your card. Do the other end, bead down the middle, down the seam, and then some glue on that flap. And then bring that up, mooching that down as much as possible. Okay, I do both ends to start with so that I can bring my ends in. And I'm just going to roll my bone folder just around those ends, just to bring those corners in. And then that will ensure that you cover your ends of your corners, get covered. So bead of glue, bit of glue down there, pulling it in from the middle and really getting a nice tight fit around there. Okay, now this is going to get covered eventually, so don't worry if you haven't got it equal or whatever it is, it will be covered up. It's not going to be seen. So hold it in the middle and then squash those right out to the ends. And then burnish that lining. Put it in. And there you've got your 2 nicely covered covers. So I've got 2 there, identical sizes, and they're going to be your back and your front cover of your notebook. Then we're going to do our papers to go inside. And like I said, all I've done here is I've just used A4 sheets of paper. If you're in the US, go with whatever you've got. A4 sheets of paper, and I've cut them in half. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to fold each sheet separately. It does make for a better fit if you do them separately rather than folding several together. And I'm just going to do that to several pages. Now I've probably got too many here. There we go. Okay, and I'm just going to make sure that they're flat as possible. Okay. So my pages are 5 3/4 or end up being 5 3/4 by 4 1/8. That's how, what size that is. And if you put that against your book cover, it just gives you a nice little border all the way around. So to start with, I started with my papers to get the size of papers that I wanted. Then I created the size for my cover. And then what you'll do next is you'll create the binding. So we're going to do the pages first. I'm just going to take those off. It's just been holding on. Now I've got several going there. Oh, that's my first one. And then what we're going to do is, before we go on to cutting those, I'm going to do the binding, which is a accordion type binding, which is this one here. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that bound up for now, and I will show you what we do with that. Now all I've done is found that in my scrap. I got 3 pieces of scrap which were 2 3/4 wide, and then I just concertinaed them until the very end, and then I've joined them together. So I'll show you what to do with that one. So we just get the scoreboard, and then what we're going to do is we're going to pop it into the scoreboard any which way up you want, and we're just going to score at 1 inch increments. So we're going to go right across my board. Unfortunately, I need to do that on this one. Let's get my big boy out, which I don't want to do. So I'm just going to pop that there and carry on until I've gone to the end of my paper. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to concertina it up like so. Now, you'll need several of these because obviously you won't get enough out of one sheet. So the best way to do that, I'm just going to squeeze that down, is if I get mine here. So say this is the end of another one of these, you'll need to get this one and the end needs to be pointing down, and then you just add the two together like so. And then you do that for however many you want to create. Each mounting of these will be your page. So you need however many you've got mountings, that's how many pages you'll need. But that is how you just glue them together. Just make sure that you glue up to the score line and not over it, because you want that to bend in perfectly and you want it obviously to fit both ways. So that is how you do that. Then what we're going to do is so I've made, how many have I made? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 pages there, which effectively gives you 1, 2, 3, 4 on each piece, which will make a very decent size book. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 and 16. Okay, so I have got too many. The easiest way to do this is obviously this is 2 3/4 wide. Now yours will be different depending on what scraps you've got or if you decide to cut them. If it was me thinking about it now, I would probably cut it to a round number just so that when you come to put the slit in your papers, you have you know, it's not a difficult measure to do. So you want this to sit in the middle, more or less. So our paper is 5 3/4. Again, that is another odd amount, but it was just the way that it worked with the size papers that I've got. And you need to find the middle. So we're going to pop this in the middle here, which is more or less there. And I'm going to mark the middle. You don't need to do this if you've got it in equal amounts because it'll be easier. So if you have a 3-inch one, for instance, you just need to go 1 1/4 that way, and no, sorry, 1 1/2 that way and 1 1/2 that way. Mark your 2 marks and that will be your slit. It's just an easier way to do it. If you've got, you know, a rounded measurement, I just haven't got that. So this is the way I'm going to do it. So I need to create a 2 3/4 inch. So I need to go 1 this side and 1 that side, which is 2. And then I need to go 1/4 that size and 1/4 that size, which will make 2 1/2. And then if I go half in there and half this side, that will be my measurement of my 1 1/4. So I needed to go, I forgot again, 1 1/4 and 1/2. So it's there. So if I measure that now, from there to there, it's not quite, hang on. Where did I go wrong? Oh, I can see. Where's my rubber? This is the trouble when you've got odd measurements, but we'll get through it. So it's 1 1/4 plus 1/2. 1 1/4 plus 1/2. So it's there. Now that should measure 1 3/4 inch. Okay? And you want it pretty much exact. So we're going to use this top page as our template. I'm just going to get something I can lean on. I guess of my board. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a paper tool and I'm just going to mark on that line, right in the middle of that crease line, I'm going to mark those 2. Okay, I'm going to rub that out because I will forget if I don't. Do the half mark there. So this is my template and you're going to use this for every other piece of paper. So you're going to open it up, put your piece of paper in the middle, sit it down and then do your pokies again. Okay. Now because I'm using thin paper, you could do several at a time, but I want to make sure that I get it on that line. So I'm going to do them one at a time. Okay. And then once I've got those all marked, I'll come back. Okay, so all of those have been marked with the holes. What we're going to do then is we're going to bring back the scoreboard. If you're confident enough with a ruler, so you can do it with a ruler and a knife, or you could do it on the scoreboard. Now, if you line that up and it's in a groove, fantastic. Just going to move those sideways so that I can put this on here. so that you can see what I'm doing. And then you just put it in the first hole. I don't want to do it that way. It's not quite in the middle of a groove, so I'm just going to bring it over one, line that up, and then I'm going to put it in the groove, and then I'm just going to slide. Oh, I think my blade needs changing. So I've changed my blade, and I'm just going to line that up into one of the grooves, line it up at the top so that it's straight. Put your knife in the first hole and bring it down nice and smoothly. Now I'm going a bit gingerly here, purely because I'm using copy paper and it's not very thick. And you want to create slits like this in each of your papers, okay? So you'll have a slit there. All right, so I'm going to do that to all of them and I'll come back. Okay, so I've put slits in all of my papers. Okay. And our next job is to pop them onto our concertina. Now you want these end pieces sticking up to make sure it's the right way, okay? You don't want them stuck down, you want them stuck that way, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're just going to guide these on. And you want them to lie right in your crease there, okay? And we're just going to pop them all on to your concertina. Okay, so we've managed to get all our pages on and all our little bits are in between each of the pages, okay? So just make sure that you've got your concertina all the way in. Just play around with it, get it to the way you want it to look. Even, you know, put your boards on and just see how that's looking. Okay. Isn't that cute? I just love it. The other thing about these concertinas as well is some videos that I've watched, they glue them up like this. So they glue each one so your page slides on quite easily. I find this one slightly better purely because it gives you this sort of wiggle room at the back for growth. So if you was to, you know, if you're a heavy embellisher or you like to add things a lot into your notebooks, you know, receipts, pieces of paper, whatever it is that you might want to add, it gives it room to expand on your spine. And because of the method that we're using for the boards, the thing, your covers, it will expand with it. So that's why I don't really like to glue these up. Some people do, some people don't. It's all down to personal preference. And this is the first time I've done it. So I've tried it both ways quickly with just a couple of pages. And I do prefer this method. So, yeah, I just thought I'd point that out. So that's how our book is going to look. It is going to go in the middle. And we're going to glue these onto here. So that one's going to get glued onto this part, and then I'm going to cover it, and then this side's going to be done the same way. And then what we're going to do is we're going to secure these pages in a lot better than this. Now, I have seen people where they've just glued it down and left it like that. I don't particularly like that idea. But for a notebook, it's probably feasible. But I just want to give you some options of what you can do, because there's several options of what you can do with these inner pieces. Okay, we can either create new pages, we can create some pockets, we can create quite a few things. nice decorative things that can be, you know, utilised into a journal even. I'm definitely going to make a journal this way. I really, really like the idea, especially with the no sew, and you know, there's very little gluing involved as well. The gluing part only comes into play because we're going to do something with these. So yeah, I actually quite like this idea altogether. So let me know what you think. I like it. I like it a lot. So you could use decorative papers, you could use different colours, you could use all sorts of things for this. I think that's a great idea. Now you could put your cover on this way and put it on that and make these end pieces a feature of your cover. I'm not going to do that, but that is an option if you want that option. Okay, so I've sorted some pieces out to do maybe a cluster on the front, but we need to get our covers on first. So that's what we're going to do. Just going to make sure all they're in the right place. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to line it up on my board, just because this is going to be a little bit, yeah, I don't know whether I want to do it that way or that way, so that I can place it down and have it right at the back. So what I'm going to use collal for this, and then I'll pinch it together, I think. So yeah, I'm going to do it from the back, just so that I've got some wiggle room and I can get it into position. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of glue on there, and I'm probably going to smudge that in. Nice gluey fingers, just so that I know that I've got it all covered. Okay, and then I'm going to make sure that my spines are all in. I'm going to turn it over, push that down, and then I'm just going to lift it up so that I can get it right to the back of that cover and get that in the right place, top and bottom, and then push that down, because I want this to be flat with my cover. And then you're going to have to do the same with the other side and pinch it all together. If I want to move it, okay. And then a bit messy this, but the result is worth it in the end. Back, make sure that that's all there, and then I'm going to pinch it together with my bulldog clip, just to make sure that it glues perfectly, and then I'll just have to make sure that I've got no seepage of glue afterwards. So it's the binding that I'm making level with my cover, and you will notice that there's a tiny little border around where the papers lie, and that's only because of the crease in your accordion. Perfect. So I'll leave that to dry just for a second while we sort out what we're going to do. Now, we need to obviously cover the inside, which is these two pieces here. I've already cut it out, made the decision and inked it. And then I've got some pieces that I'm going to use as just for some different ideas to cover the accordion pieces that are inside. And then obviously we need to just decorate the front of the book. So I'm going to do that next. So just see if that's worked. I don't want it to cover this. See, I like it because they lie flat. The pages actually lie flat. I think this would make a great journal. Just take this side off, make sure that I've got no seepage on this side. And my pages aren't stuck together. Perfect. It's not dry enough actually. So I think I'm going to go and get a cup of tea. And yeah, I'm going to go and get a cup of tea while that dries, and then I'll come back. Okay, so I got my tea. I've had a bite to eat because I forgot, and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I haven't eaten. The trouble is I get carried away when I'm in the craft room. Just make sure that that's loose. Make sure that this one's loose in that. That's it. So that's glued up nicely. Cool. So I've got my inner pieces now to put on here. And I think I'll put that one on there and that one on the back. So I'm just going to glue those in. I'll use Carl again because just because it'll give me a little bit of wiggle room on this larger piece. And I'll smush that in. Give it a big smush around and then place it. And maybe get that down. Line it up. Do the other side. Then that gets those covers done. That on there, give it a good smush. And give them a good press down. Gives me my covers. And then I'll leave the decorating till last. I just want to show you what we can do with these innards. Now, for the first part, for the first one, we can make a pocket out of 2 tags. Oh, they're a little bit too big. I didn't think they were. Well, it doesn't matter. We can put some stuff in the top. That'll be nice. So I'm going to glue it. I want to glue them together. So I want to put that in the right place, about there. And I'm going to glue this part down. I'm going to use this one. So I want to make sure the page is right down. Okay, and then I'm just going to get that glued on to the tag. Okay. So let's line that up where I want it. And then get that glued onto there. You can do this throughout all of the book itself. And we don't need to glue that one on, but what we need to do is we need to glue it onto the other tag as a pocket. So I want to go down there. I'm leaving the top because it pokes out of the notebook. I can put a eyelet in there. So what I want to do now is line these up so that they perfectly match each other. Probably could have done with a So match them up as best you can. If you've got any white bits showing, just go round with your ink. I should have probably inked inside there. Just get some ink out. Like so and like so. And I'll tag those together. Just get rid of all any overhang. I haven't got any at the front there, you know. And then we want a notcher. And I'm probably just going to use this notcher. And I'm going to pop that to one side at the bottom. It's hard work. We want an eyelet as well because that tag sticks out the top, which I wasn't aware of, and I don't want gold, do I? I want a different colour. These ones will be nice and good. So I'm just going to use my big one. I'm going to eyeball where that is. Middle. Pop that in. If I remember rightly, these are slightly bigger. That's it. I got it. And then scrunch that down. Perfect. Put something in the top of there. We've then got a pocket here to put something in. So that's one way to do it. Pick another one anywhere. Okay. And then for this one, I'm just going to make this into a pocket on the page itself. So I'm just going to, I've inked it already, so I'll just go all the way around there to make a pocket. And then I'm just going to put that down in the middle of the page. And then that's a pocket actually on the page. And it stops these from coming out. Cool. I love that. That's cool. Yes. So we'll pick another one anywhere you like. I like it because the book lies flat. And then what I'm going to do with this one is make this into a pocket. So I'm going to need to have a slit before I put it on. And I want that to go there and there. So I'm just going to poke the elbows through. That one and that one. And then just for quickness, I'm going to use a ruler just to show you that you can do these slits with a ruler and a knife. I just find it easier in the scoreboard. Down to that one. That should have given me a slit. I'm going to pop that onto there. This is another way that you can just make extra pages. Double up your pages to make them double like this. Pop it in and then glue your page up with this in the middle. If you want to do full-size pages, and that will give you extra pages again. So with the other ones where you don't put pockets and things. So what I'm going to do with this one is I am going to make this one into a pocket. I want to round those corners though, just to finish it off. So I'm just round these corners. Okay, and I haven't inked, so better ink before I forget. This scorched timber with this colour as well looks gorgeous. You want to do the other side because you can see it, because it's going to be a loose pocket. That's that. We're going to pop that back onto there through this slit. There we've got that. Pull it over, pull it down as far as you can, and then just get a bit of glue on the one side. Doesn't matter which side you glue down, because it's going to end up in your pocket anyway. So glue that down, and then glue your pocket up both sides, that side and that side. And then glue that pocket up. We could do with a notch in that as well. So we can pop a notch in here somewhere, wherever you want to. There we go. And that's another pocket. Then the other way is if we pick one further forward. I don't want it to be next to another one. So. And then what we're going to do is we're going to, oh, I haven't inked. Sorry, I have not inked. This is going to be a top loader. So one where you can put pieces in the top. I'll round the edges at the top. There and there. Yeah. And then what we're going to do with this one is we're going to place that down on the page where we want it. We're going to glue that down. So we're going to bring that over to there. And then we're going to glue these sides up. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to notch the top of that one as well. Since I've gone with this notcher, try and get it more or less in the middle. And you can go through and add or not. You can add extra pages. So if you wanted to add another one of these pages, for instance here, have I got one with a footing already? Thought I had. Maybe I haven't. I must have used it. So line your page up, just mark either side of there and there. Do your hole, one in there. It's not in the right place. One in there and one in there. Make a hole or a slit between your two holes. If you don't use knives, you can use scissors. It is actually quite easy to do with copy paper, but you do ruffle your paper up quite a bit, which is why I chose to use a knife. And then we're going to pop that onto there. But what we're going to do, just want to line those pages up, make sure that they're okay. What we're going to do though is we're going to glue this down. So we're going to put a bit of glue on that side, a bit of glue on that side, and then we're going to glue the whole page up together. Now, I'm just doing this real quick just to show you, because I know the video is getting on a bit too long. Level that up. Just watch the glue. That's the trouble with Calal. And glue your page in. So there's several ways to do it. So you could put pattern papers in there. You could put your pockets. So there's a pocket here. There's your double page there, which hides that one, but it's only every other. So the next page won't need one. And then this page has got a top loader in. So you can decorate these up as well. And then, as I say, it's every other page. So on this one, we've actually got a fixed in pocket. And then on this one, we've actually got a loose pocket in there. Need to ink that as well. What's that that's coming out? So it's got quite a lot of expansion there. Quite a bit. Your pages lie flat for you to be able to write in. I actually quite like that. So all it needs now is for us to just decorate the front. So I thought about a plaque because I quite like that idea. And I do like that one. I have put Brad's in there already. And then I've got this, which was left over from yesterday, which I thought would be quite nice there. So let's just start getting that glued on. As I said, I have put Brad's in that already. So just need to pick it up just to get that levelled a little. That's quite nice. It doesn't look level when I put it down. Anyway, you could glue that on. Oh no, because I want to put I want to put a cluster on, or something on. So we're just gonna pop that on. Okay. And I just want to leave just a smidgen of a border around the top and the bottom. And then what? I quite like this camera. I do like the clock, but I think it's a little big now I put that on, so it probably needs a little bit of a smaller object. What about this? I could put that. It's a shame we haven't got any words. What else have we got? We got a ticket. I quite like that. I think that's just simple and easy, isn't it? Yeah, I like that. So let's just stick this down first. My glue needs topping off already. Let's just see the placement of that. And then pop that in to there. And we want this. That has a placement about there. And then we'll pop this on. And add there. That's just a nice, easy, simple cover, which I think is quite nice. I don't think we've done too badly there. Not too shabby. Oh, we need something for there, don't we? What can we put in? I think we'll just stick a bit of this in. Yeah. Oh, we have got this. Don't like that. Needs to be light. Just stick a bit of that in, as I've got it already. Just open the page. Poke that through. Just to keep it a bit shabby looking. Okay, what do you think? Actually quite like it. Excuse me. That's got quite a good give, hasn't it? So that's all I would tend to do with the page inserts. And as I say, you've only got it on every other one. So you haven't got one there. That's your double page that we stuck in. So you could just put extra pages in and leave it as a complete notebook. You can do top loaders, or you can do pockets, separate pockets, flip pockets. So I would go through and put more pages in there, only because it's a notebook. But for a journal, that'd be ace, wouldn't it? So I hope you enjoyed that. I'm chuffed with that, and I'll definitely be doing a journal with that spine. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. So next up will be the bookmarks, and I'll just be making a few different types of bookmarks in the next video, so look out for that one too. Do go across and watch everybody else and support all of the DT team that's taking part in the collaboration for Ink Stained Archives. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.